Have you ever checked your bank account and felt your stomach drop? Not because of one big purchase you regret, but because the number is just lower than it should be. You did not book a vacation. You did not have a major emergency. You did not buy anything you could point to and say, that's where it went. But somehow, your $10,000 is now $6,200, and you cannot explain it. Or maybe you are on the other side of this right now. You've got $10,000 sitting in your account and you feel good about it. You feel safe. You worked hard to get there, and the number feels like proof that you are finally doing something right. And I genuinely hope you are watching this before what I'm about to describe has a chance to happen to you. Because here's what nobody tells you when you hit that milestone. The moment your balance crosses $10,000, something shifts in your brain. Quietly, invisibly, without your permission. And that shift is the beginning of the end for most people's savings. Not a bad decision, not a financial emergency, not a lack of discipline, just a feeling. And that feeling is one of the most financially destructive forces most people will ever encounter. My name is Lyra, and I have watched this exact pattern play out more times than I can count. People who budgeted carefully, who said no to things they wanted, who genuinely sacrificed to hit their savings goal, and then slowly, almost mysteriously, ended up right back where they started. And almost none of them could explain what happened, because the thing that drained their account never announced itself. It never showed up as one obvious mistake. It worked silently, in the background, in amounts too small to cause alarm. If you have ever hit a savings milestone and watched it quietly disappear without understanding why, make sure you subscribe before this video is over, because what I'm about to show you is the exact reason it keeps happening, and the one system that actually stops it. So let me tell you what the silent killer actually is, because I promise it is not what you think. Most people, when their savings start dropping, assume the problem is discipline. They think they just need more willpower, more budgeting, more restriction. So they try harder next time. They download another budgeting app. They cut back on coffee and dining out. They grind their way back to $10,000 and feel proud again. And then the exact same thing happens. The balance starts drifting downward, slowly and quietly, until something hits and wipes out whatever is left. The problem is not discipline. The problem is not your spending habits either, at least not in the way you think. The silent killer is the false sense of security that $10,000 creates. Here's what that actually looks like in real life. The day your account hits $10,000, your brain does something automatic. It recalibrates. It quietly updates its definition of what you can afford. You don't sit down and consciously decide to spend more. It just happens. You say yes to a dinner you might have skipped before. You grab the slightly nicer version of something at the store. You stop meal prepping 1 week because you've got $10,000 and 1 week off from cooking is not going to hurt anything. None of these decisions feel reckless. Each one feels completely reasonable. You've worked hard. You have $10,000. You can afford this. But watch what happens to the balance. $10,000 becomes $9,400. You barely notice. $9,400 becomes $8,700. Still feels fine. You tell yourself you'll be more careful next month and rebuild it. Then a real expense shows up. Not even a dramatic emergency, just normal life. A car service you put off, a medical copay, a home repair that cannot wait. It costs $1,500 and now you're at $7,200. And something changes in how that money feels. It felt abundant at $10,000. At $7,200, it starts feeling fragile. But instead of that feeling pushing you to save harder, it quietly makes you more fatalistic. You already broke the seal. You're already below the milestone. So you keep spending at the same slightly elevated level because cutting back now feels like punishment for something that already happened. 3 months later, you're at $4,800. 6 months later, $2,300. And you're sitting there wondering how someone with your income and your discipline and your genuine commitment to saving money ends up in the same place every single time. This is not a spending problem. This is a psychology problem, and $10,000 is the exact amount that triggers it almost every time. Here's the part that should both make you feel good and deeply uncomfortable at the same time. Most people never reach $10,000 in savings. The majority of working adults could not cover a $1,000 emergency without going into debt. The fact that you got there means something real. Your discipline is not the problem. Your intention is not the problem. You did the hard part. But $10,000 is the most dangerous amount of money you can have in savings, not because it is too much, but because it is just enough to feel safe while being nowhere near enough to actually be safe. It is enough to make your brain relax without being enough to protect you from anything serious. It is the financial equivalent of feeling full after eating one small meal when you have not eaten in days. The relief is real. The security is not. And here's what makes this even harder. The silent killer does not require you to make bad decisions. It just requires you to feel okay. That is all. The moment you feel okay about your money is the moment your guard comes down. And the moment your guard comes down, the slow erosion begins. The people who successfully keep and grow $10,000 are not more disciplined than you. They are not white-knuckling it every time they open their wallet. They simply understood one thing that most people never learn: that willpower is not a reliable defense against a psychological force. Feelings require a system to defeat them, and the right system makes the silent killer completely irrelevant. So here's exactly what that system looks like. The core of the problem is what I call psychological accessibility. Money you can see in your account, transfer instantly, and spend with one tap does not feel like savings. It feels like an extended budget. As long as your $10,000 is sitting in the same account you use to pay for groceries and gas, your brain will treat it like spending money with extra steps. That is not a character flaw. That is just how human psychology works with money that feels available. So, the first move is this. The day you hit $10,000, not next week, not after you think about it, that day, you split it up and you move it. Take $3,000 to $4,000 and move it into a high-yield savings account at a completely separate bank. Not a second account at your current bank, a separate institution with no debit card attached, no instant transfer option, and ideally a 1 to 2 day transfer window back to your checking account. This is your emergency fund, and the transfer delay is not an inconvenience. It is the entire point. Take $5,000 to $6,000 and move it into an investment account. If you do not have a Roth IRA, open one first. It is the single most tax-efficient place to put your first investment dollars, because every dollar it earns grows completely tax-free. Put it into broad market index funds and then do not touch it. You are not trying to pick winners. You are not trying to time the market. You are simply putting money somewhere it can grow faster than inflation over time, while the silent killer has zero access to it. What is left in your checking account should feel lean. That feeling is not a problem. That feeling is the system working. Here's the counterintuitive truth about all of this. The goal is to make yourself feel slightly financially constrained again, not actually broke, strategically lean. When your checking account has $800 in it instead of $10,000, your brain makes different decisions automatically. You do not need more discipline. You just need your checking account to stop lying to you about how much money you actually have. Then you automate everything forward. Set a fixed transfer to your investment account every single pay period, even if it's $100 or $150. Set another to your emergency fund until it reaches a full 3 to 6 months of expenses. These transfers should happen the same day your paycheck lands, before you ever see the money in your available balance. The silent killer cannot touch money that moves before you have a chance to feel it. Now, I want to address the 3 things that stop most people from actually doing this. The first one is fear. You worked hard for this money, and the idea of moving it somewhere you cannot easily access feels uncomfortable. What if you need it? The answer is that your $3,000 to $4,000 emergency fund exists precisely for that reason. Real emergencies, job loss, medical bills, major car repairs are covered. And if something truly catastrophic happens that exceeds your emergency fund, your investment account is still accessible. It takes an extra step, and there may be tax implications depending on how you withdraw, but the money is not gone. The friction protects you from your own psychology on an average Tuesday. It does not trap you during a genuine crisis. The second objection is that investing feels too risky when you barely have $10,000 saved. And I understand that instinct completely, but here's the reality. The riskiest place your $10,000 can live is in a checking account where the silent killer has unrestricted access to it every single day. A market downturn is temporary. Lifestyle creep is permanent. Your investment account balance may fluctuate. What it will not do is slowly disappear in $40 and $80 and $120 increments while you're not paying attention. The third one is the down payment plan. Maybe you've been telling yourself this $10,000 is going towards a house or a car, and that goal is not wrong, but spending your entire savings on a down payment means you enter a major financial commitment with zero cushion. The moment something goes wrong, and something always goes wrong, you have no buffer. You're not buying security with that down payment. You're buying obligation without protection. Keep building. Get to $25,000 or $30,000 and make that purchase from a position of actual strength. People who stay stuck see $10,000 and immediately think about what they can do with it right now. People who build real financial security see $10,000 and think about what it becomes if the silent killer never gets to touch it. Here's the honest part. Most people watching this are going to recognize everything I just described. They're going to think about the savings account that slowly drained without explanation. They're going to feel that uncomfortable mix of recognition and frustration. And then they're going to close this video and leave their money exactly where it is. That's just the truth. And if that's you, you'll be back here in 8 months trying to figure out why the same thing happened again. But if you're one of the people who actually opens a new account today, actually moves the money, actually sets up the automatic transfers before this week is over, here's what the next few years look like. Your emergency fund grows to full coverage. Your investment account compounds quietly in the background. The $10,000 that once felt like your ceiling starts to feel like the floor of something much larger. You stop starting over. You start building forward. The other path is also simple to describe. The money stays accessible, the silent killer keeps working in the background, the balance drifts, an expense hits, you rebuild, you hit $10,000 again and feel proud again, and the cycle repeats for years while you wonder why your hard work never seems to translate into actual financial progress. The silent killer only wins with your permission. It only has access to money you leave within its reach. Right now, today, you are either removing that access or you're leaving the door open. That decision is being made whether you make it consciously or not. The choice is entirely yours.